All right, so today's lesson is on literal equations and formulas, and we're going to be rearranging two variable equations in order to solve for one of the variables. A literal equation is just one that contains more than one variable. So we're going to solve the underlined equation for y, and then later we're going to find y when x equals 3 and again when x equals 5. For now, we're just going to focus on this first step. Solve the following equation for y. So if we were solving for y, and this were all numbers, we would be moving everything to the right except the letter y, and we would end up with y equals, and we would have a numerical value. We're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to get rid of everything in the equation that is not y. So our end result is y equals something, but the something that we end up with is not just going to be a single number. It's going to be another equation in itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of addition and subtraction, just like I would normally. So I'm going to subtract 10x from both sides. Now I don't have any x values on the right-hand side to subtract 10x from. So it's just going to be a negative 10x now over on this side. So on my left side, I'm left with 5y. On my right side, I still have the 80.
Wait, where'd you get the negative 10x?
Plus I have minus 10x. Okay? Now I get my 10x. Let's just go back for a minute. I subtracted it from this side because I don't want it to be on the same side as the
Yeah,
y.
but that would be 0x then, wouldn't it?
It is 0x on this side. That's what I want. But on this side, I don't have any x's. So when I subtract 10x, I have negative 10x.
Oh my god.
Okay. Now let's go on to the next step. What would I do if I needed to get y by itself? What's left to get rid of? Travis? Divide by 5. So I'm going to divide this side by 5. And when I divide this side by 5, I have to divide the whole side by 5. So on my left-hand side, the 5's cancel out, and my end result is y equals 80 minus 10x over 5. This is the result that I want when I end up with this y all by itself. I have naked y equals something. That's what I was looking for when I asked you to solve the following equation for y. So this is the first answer that I'm going to expect to see. The second part of this says, find y when x equals 3 and when x equals 5. So we're just evaluating this expression for x. Remember when we did evaluating expressions, sometimes we would evaluate it for one number, then maybe we would pick a different number and evaluate it for that number. That's all we're doing. We're saying if we had 3 of something, how would that affect our dependent variable? How would that affect y? So I'm going to take x equals 3, I'm going to substitute it in for x in my equation. So y equals 80 minus 10 times 3 divided by 5. When I do that, 10 times 3 is 30. 80 minus 30 is 50. So I have 50 on the top, 5 on the bottom, and 50 divided by 5 is 10. So when x is 3, y will be 10. Now I'm going to find out what y would be if x was 5. So I'm going to use a different color here. I'll move over here. So y equals 80 minus 10 times 5, and then I'm going to divide by 5. 10 times 5 is 50, 80 minus 50 is 30, and 30 divided by 5 is 6. So all of this equals 6. So when x equals 5, y equals 6. Okay, let's look at another example of this. So we're going to solve the equation for m, and then we're going to find m when n equals negative 2 and when n equals 4. So first I'm going to solve the equation for m. So this time what I want is I want m all by itself. So I need to get a naked m and move everything else to the other side. So the first thing on this side that I'm going to get rid of is this minus 5n, because it's not attached to the m by multiplication. You're subtracting. We usually undo subtraction first. So I'm going to add 5n to both sides.
Wait, you add 5n to the 2n or what?
Now, on my left-hand side, I don't currently have any n's, so I just have 5n now. I have 5n over here, plus 4. On this side, negative 5m plus 5n is 0, so it's gone from this side. I'm just left with my 2m.
How do you get 4?
I had a 4
Wait,
in the original.
hold on.
Just wait, questions in a minute. Let's get through this first. Okay, now I want to get m by itself. The only thing left that's attached to the m is this 2. It says 2 times m. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to divide by 2.
Why would you divide by 5?
My final answer is m equals 5n plus 4 over 2. That's the equation that I'm looking for. So I just moved everything around. It's still the same equation. It's just solved for a different variable. Now I'm going to go on to the next step that says find m when n equals negative 2.
So are all three of those your answers?
Just a minute. I'm going to put negative 2 in for m. So m equals 5 times negative 2 plus 4. Okay, so I have 5 times negative m plus 4 divided by 2. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10, plus 4 is negative 6, over 2 is negative 3. So when n is negative 2, m is negative 3. Now I'm going to solve it for n equals 4. So I'm going to go back to my original equation and say that m equals 5 times 4 plus 4 over 2. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 plus 4 is 24. And 24 divided by 2 is 12. So when n is 4, m equals 12. Okay? I'm going to pause at this point because the next examples are more difficult and we're only going to focus on the basic examples today. So I'm going to turn off the recording. In order to see the rest, you'll have to watch part 2.